Hi, the timekeeper.
Before we left the house. You're also saying that my eye is bloodshot.
That's that behind that had the injection. That's the one that had the problem with the contact. Right?
Yeah. So, I had medication that was like round. But this should not be. Well, I'm glad that we're
I try to get your eyes to manage here. You asked me to talk to you, so you would
God bless you. I was talking to Barbara Friedman, and she told me that resolution for $25,000 is just to hire the two interns. She wanted to bet. I'd like to be right. It could be wrong. Come talk in my ear because
You hold the sign up for 15 seconds. If they keep talking, you walk and tackle them.
I was going to bring a stop sign, but he said I didn't.
Maggie might want to sit here if that's okay.
Who?
Maggie.
Yes, definitely. Is there enough room here?
If you put the tape, put this on the table.
I don't need this one.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Should I move the table
No, it's
forward?
fine.
Okay, I'm not dead here.
And one is the right and one is the left. And it's on the left. Sitting.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm just looking. On my right,
You guys have got to stop twisting his arm.
6:30, let's get this show on the road. Moderator. Oh, the one's asking the question.
I don't know.
Start off with a lot of.
That's where they came from.
I know.
Beth was saying, I asked her.
Just crack the handle.
A lot of kids have gone back to the
That's what the problem was, yeah.
They're laced. TCH.
What ended up my house.
Can I sit next to you and find these lovely people?
Hi.
You know Nancy?
They came in.
You know Nancy?
No, he's
That's
here.
what-
Hi. And this is Ralph.
How you doing?
I might have to cover this way a bit. There was rather quite a bit.
Thanks for waiting. We'll be right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. I left it.
She has to do traffic. She's doing traffic.
Would everybody take your seats, please? We're going to get started. I think we have enough chairs for everybody, but if we don't, there are people over there at the doors. You can tell them that we need chairs. So thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Drianne Benner, and I am a board member of the Orient Association, and I coordinate the work of all of the civics, the 8 civic associations that have helped put this forum together tonight. I'm just going to mention them for you so that you know all of these civics that worked hard on this. So I start usually from east and I go west because that's the way I remember things. So, sorry, Fisher's Island, Orient, the hamlets, I'm not going to give you the names of the civics. Fisher's Island, Orient, East Marion, Greenport, Southold Town, Cutchogue, New Suffolk, Mattituck, Laurel. All right, I want to thank a couple of thanks here. Thank you to the supervisor for letting us use this beautiful rec center. Thank you to the rec staff for opening it up for us, and we will put it back together again tonight when we leave. Thank you to all the candidates for being here tonight and taking the time for this forum. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to thank all the civic members and the civic board members. I'm not going to ask you to stand, but I want to thank you for helping to organize this and ask your members for questions to submit for this forum. So we received quite a lot of questions that are distilled down into a short set of and you'll hear 8 questions total for the candidates. Just want to mention the civics, the mission of the civics is to share perspectives on issues of relevance to the community, of concern, with the aim of shedding some light on these issues of concern so that people better understand what's going on. So we share multiple perspectives, pros and cons, for and against, but also, I hate to use the word educate, but we like to learn as much as we can about those issues so that people understand, again, how to take action if it's relevant. And now I'm going to turn it over to our moderators. Dave Bergen, if you could stand up for a moment. Dave is a board member and secretary of the Cutchogue Civic Association, and Carol Lindley. Carol is the president of the Greenport Civic Association. They're going to share the format for the discussion tonight and also be moderating the questions for you. So thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again at another forum.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our forum. Just going to go over a couple of the rules. The candidates have already received all these rules well in advance of tonight, but I know the audience isn't aware of them. So what we are going to do, all the candidates for all the offices will be giving opening statements to start off this evening. They're limited to 2 minutes each. And then after the opening statements, that's when we'll start with the questions for candidates. We're going to start with the town board candidates first, then the trustee candidates, and then the county legislature candidates. The town board, you heard a little bit how we had a lot of questions come in. We selected 4 questions for the town board. Each candidate will be asked the same question. So 4 questions for the town board candidates, then 2 for the trustee candidates, and 2 for the county legislature candidates. Then when we're done with questions and answers, there'll be closing statements. Closing statements will be limited to the folks that answered questions. So in other words, the closing statements will be limited to the town board, the trustee, and the legislative candidates. So for the majority of these folks, who are all sitting over here nervous, a lot of them, the nerves will all go away once we get through the opening statements. But we're happy to have them all here and participating, just as we're happy to have all you in the audience. A couple of things. I'm sorry. And as far as the order of how we're going to go tonight, we did a coin toss. So we did a coin toss for the opening statements. Whoops, there we go. Coin toss for the opening statements. And then we're alternating between the two parties depending on who won the coin toss. By the way, the winner could defer, kind of like in the NFL. That's how we determine who's going first, and we're alternating between parties, and we try to keep it in alphabetical order, obviously, with primary concern given for alternating between parties. After question number one, whoever went first drops down to the bottom of the list, and whoever was 2 jumps up to 1, etc. So we rotate the candidates in answering the questions. We're trying to be as fair as possible with this. So that's how the questions are going to work. For the closing statements, we'll go in the opposite order of the opening statements. So whoever went first for the town board in the opening statements will go last in the closing statements. So that gives you a little idea of how all this was done tonight. Couple things we're asking, please, if you haven't done it already, silence your phones. Check your phones. You don't want to be embarrassed by you're the one whose phone went off in the middle of this tonight. So silence your phones. The candidates are going to have 2 minutes for their opening statement, 2 minutes to answer questions, 2 minutes for closing statements, and we have a timekeeper up here, George, who will be holding up a 30-second warning, and then after that 30 seconds, telling them their time is up. The candidates all know this, and so hopefully we don't have to pull the hook. We hope everybody cooperates. The other thing we're asking now for your assignment here in the audience is please tonight, no clapping, no cheering, no jeering. We want to, in a moment, we'll recognize all the candidates with applause, and at the end recognize everybody with applause. But throughout this, please, no comments from the audience, okay? So with that, I'd ask you to all give a big round of applause for all the candidates up here. Okay, with this, we're going to go to the opening statements, and we're starting with the town board. And first up is Chris Talbert.
Hello. Okay. Start off by thanking the civic groups. They had agreed to get together and host one debate, as was mentioned. That was a little bit of a topic. We wanted to make sure that we kept it as even-keeled as possible for the entire slate. But thank you, civic groups, tonight. My name is Christopher Talbot, born and raised here in Southold Town. I was born in Greenport, raised in Mattituck as one of number 7 of 8 children. My wife Barbara is here tonight. We've been married 31 years this next month. And we have 3 children, and we reside in Cutchogue. My early life here in town was attended Mattituck High School, went on to attend Suffolk Community College, and then worked as a master plumber for 15 years in the plumbing industry. And for the last, coming on 25 years, I work for the Village of Southampton, and I'm the senior building inspector over there with the village, running code enforcement in the fire marshal's office. Earlier in my in the late 90s, I was elected a park commissioner in Mattituck. I was there for a 3-year term before moving to Cutchogue. One of the things we did there, which was fantastic in my eyes, was the beautiful playground that is there at Vets Park. It's still well attended by everybody. That was a collaboration with Jean Cochran when she was a town supervisor. I spent my life as a giving service to this town. I'm coming up on 4 decades in the fire service. I'm an interior firefighter and an EMT with the Cutchogue Fire Department, where I also serve as a fire commissioner. I did spend 4 years on the town board in 2009 to 13, and we worked on land preservation, dark sky legislation, which we adopted. And if I'm elected again, I will continue to push those avenues and also work as best we can to actually get some production. And I will give my all to putting in some affordable housing where we can and make sure that we are there to continue to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next up, Brian Neely.
I feel like I'm hosting Night Live or something. I'm Brian Mealy, and I humbly and gratefully say thank you for electing me to be your councilman, and I hope that you will re-elect me as your councilman. And I just want to say thanks to the Civics, and thanks for Uncle Al for being here. Ann Smith is in the back, and Jill Doherty's here. It's just as an honor to work with the current town board to get the work done that the people of Southold, our beloved community, are asking for. I made a pledge 4 years ago not to kick the can down the road, and I'm proudly reporting the can has not been kicked down the road. We are taking up the issues like the zoning update. We're moving on our housing plan with our new housing supervisor or housing coordinator, Andrea Menjivar, and she's working with Wen Schroeder to make sure we get people in affordable and attainable housing. And also just proud to get on the docket that we passed the water conservation legislation. We talk about water being our most precious resource, but Southold really put its money where its mouth is to say it means something to us. Now it's on the docket, now it's done. And it's just, I didn't get here just by myself, so I just have to acknowledge a few people. I just want to thank Sarah Napper and her husband Tony for fighting for me when I first ran 4 years ago and being like a smart democratic strategist. And my German teacher, Mrs. Gibbons, is here. So this is kind of surreal in real time, and to be supported by your community and just the work ethic that I learned to work hard for you guys. I just want you to know I'm working hard, I've worked hard. There's lots of issues that are affecting the town, and we're getting after it. Our whole team is experienced. We have one of the most experienced teams that has ever run, and I'm proud to be one of the community leaders. I'm proud to fight for people that have less resources for them to get more. I'm proud to fight for equity and fairness in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, Stephanie Hall.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Hall, and I'm running for Fishers Island Justice. Fishers Island Justice and Town Board position. I'm a long-time year-round resident of Fishers Island for more than 33 years, raising my 2 sons there. Professionally, I'm a clinical research scientist, working for Pfizer for most of those years, and commuting daily from the island to the lab in Groton, Connecticut. And many of my colleagues would ask me, what's it like to take a boat to work every day? And I would say, it's great. I start my day on the water and I end my day on the water. I'm an active volunteer in the community. I serve as co-chair of the Fishers Island Seagrass Management Coalition. I also work with the Fishers Island Conservancy, and I created an internship program for them a couple years ago. And just this year, we hired our first intern as a full-time employee, and she's been a great addition to the team, so I'm really proud of that. I also am the treasurer for Islanders, which is a relatively new organization on the island that helps families in need. I'm a fire commissioner, and I also served on the school board for 12 years when my sons were young. I'm running because I want to be an advocate and a bridge for our communities. I'm deeply concerned about the decline in our year-round population. We're currently at 230 residents. And I'm particularly concerned at the loss of young adults and families. When I first moved to the island, it was more than double the year-round population, but lots of families and young children for the school. And I understand that Southold faces a similar issue. And if elected, this would be an area of focus that I would want to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Kate Stevens.
Thank you. There are a lot of you out there. My name is Kate Stevens, and I'm running for Fishers Island Town Council Justice. I've been a seasonal Fishers Islander my whole life. I moved to the island year-round in 2020 during COVID to be closer to family. And as a hybrid, I see the island through both a seasonal and a year-rounder's eyes. I also wear many hats. I'm executive director of the Henry L. Ferguson Museum that also protects nearly 400 acres of open space. I've been a volunteer on zoning, energy and climate resiliency committees, and I'm twice elected commissioner and now chair of the Fishers Island Waste Management District, where I'm promoting building the circular economy, including a food scraps to compost program and 2 land use recycling programs that include a public trail and a solar field on our capped landfill. In these roles, I draw on my background as a licensed architect and an educator. I'm a problem solver, a planner, and a doer. I'm running because I want to use my skills and experience, as Stephanie said, to be a bridge between our 2 islands. I believe that working together, we can build a strong and resilient community, and we already have the roadmap. It's really important to emphasize. A decade of community engagement and bipartisan effort has produced the 2020 Comprehensive Plan, the 2023 Community Housing Plan, and the forthcoming zoning update. So the to-do list is right in front of us. Year-round housing, sustainable small business, intelligent infrastructure, and climate adaptation strategies. There are also specific Fishers Islands issues that deserve community-wide consideration. Islanders are seeking resolution to jurisdictional hurdles around health insurance and other issues. As town council member for Fishers Island, I will work tirelessly for the entire town of Southold. I'll do the legwork, ask the questions, ensuring the policymaking process is clear, transparent, and effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Nick Buenamento.
Dave, thank you, Carol, the rest of, I guess, the audience and all of Southold for putting this together at the various civics. My name is Nick Planamento, and I'm a candidate for the Town of Southold Town Board. I've lived for, well, close to 30 years, 25 years in Southold on Horton's Lane with my spouse, a local attorney. Historically, I had, oh, sorry, thank you, Dave. Sorry, I lost track of where I was going with this, but historically I had a business on Love Lane, which is really my first foray and introduction into the town of Southold, where I met many people and a lot of familiar faces here this evening. But from that, I really tried to establish Love Lane as more of a popular place. Back then it wasn't known as, you know, the First Fridays that we see today. So many people know me from Love Lane. Additionally, over the last 20 years, I've served Southold in a variety of roles, mainly volunteer, but some appointed, from the Architectural Review Committee, the Board of Assessment Review, Southold 375 Anniversary Committee, among others. Plus, I was the representative to Suffolk County Planning Commission on behalf of Southold. For nearly a decade, I've been the vice chairman of the Town of Southold Zoning Board of Appeals, and that role really taught me a lot more than what I already knew about the town, but how government works, how the town of Southold functions, the employees, the people behind the counter, not just the residents. And that's really what prompted me to run for this position. We have a zoning reform before us, whether it will be updated as it was previously presented. There's a new online version that many of you probably have not yet reviewed. It's an important thing, and I think zoning dictates how the community will function. I'd like to be that person to help usher in whatever changes are coming our way for the benefit of everybody in town. I think I've expressed myself over the years as being a reliable, responsible person that gets the job done. And I'd like to be there for you and for the rest of Southold, among other things, to address the issues that I think some of the other candidates have also discussed. So, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing your questions this evening. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Nick. Alexa Sousa.
Hello, everybody. My Seuss, and I'm running for Southold Town Council because I want to give a voice to the young and working class people of Southold Town. Being born and raised here, I understand firsthand how difficult it is to be able to afford to live and thrive here. In fact, I remember it like it was yesterday when I was graduating from Greenport High School. I had a mentor pull me aside, and they said that the only way that I was going to be successful was if I left the North Fork. There's nothing here for you, they said. And like so many others who were told the same thing, I listened, and I left, and I moved to a big city, but I knew I wanted to reinvest in the beautiful place that I grew up in. Now, I've been a small business owner here for over a decade, and I've had the privilege of being involved in a host of nonprofit projects like CAST and Miles for Medical Debt, where I raised funds to relieve nearly $1 million of outstanding medical debt for those on the North Fork and beyond. And with my experience in community organizing and my background in business and data analytics, I look forward to bringing practical, thoughtful, data-driven solutions to protect what makes Southold special. Because if we truly want a healthy, thriving community, we need to make sure everyone has a place at the table. From our seniors and our immigrant neighbors to our oyster farmers, recent graduates, and volunteer firefighters, everyone should have a chance to thrive here. That means making affordable and accessible housing a reality, not just a talking point. It means standing behind our small businesses and making it easier for entrepreneurs to invest in our community just like I did. And it means protecting our bays, our beaches, and our farmland so that our grandchildren can know the same beauty that we have known for generations. Because we cannot continue selling the North Fork to the highest bidder. And that means working together to ensure this town is as resilient, as equitable, and as united as it can be. And with your help, I look forward to doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving now to the trustee candidates. And first up, Nate Andruski.
Thank you everybody for attending tonight, and thanks for having this event. Like I said, my name is Nathan Andruski. I'm running for one of the trustee positions. I'm a lifelong resident of Southold. As a child, I had a fascination with the salt water and everything in it and around it. As I grew, so did my passion for the water. Fishing, crabbing, potting eels, digging clams for fun. That's what I did that's what I was doing with every chance that I could. When I was 14, it became my livelihood. Clamming, scalloping, working in multiple types of fin fisheries and shell fisheries. Working at fish markets where over time I became a professional fish cutter. And was also elected the president of the Southold Town Board Association and still currently am that. Too bad it doesn't matter anymore. For most of my life, I was able to make a good living, eventually buying a house, supporting a family, living comfortably, and I did this all from what I made from our local creeks and bays. But now, not anymore. These once fruitful waters where you can make a good living in this town are now devoid of all wild shellfish. All the marine grasses, bogs, marsh islands, rib mussel beds are all disappearing before our eyes. In place of that, we have harmful algae blooms, the permanent closing of shellfish areas due to poor water quality, pools being put right next to creeks, pesticide spraying on properties right next to the water, along with a combination of chemicals, poisons, and anything with a side at the end of it being applied next to creeks, bays, marshes, and coming down the street into our creeks and wetlands in the form of runoff. So for these reasons and countless others, which I don't have time for in 2 minutes, that's why I decided to run for Southold Town Trustee. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Joe Fenora.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Fenora. I'm running for Southold Town Trustee. I grew up here in Southold, Mattituck specifically, and as a kid, access to the bays and beaches shaped my love for the water. That passion became my career as a marine engineer and commercial diver, inspecting and repairing structures in New York Harbor and ports around the world. I've seen how coastlines change, how infrastructure fails, and what it takes to protect waterfront communities like ours. Today, I'm bringing that experience home. I'm the town engineer for the town of Shelter Island, where I regularly navigate many of the same regulatory and environmental challenges we have here in Southold. I'm also a co-founder with my brother of the Hampton Oyster Company, where we help pioneer deep water oyster farming in Peconic Bay, a business that we're proud helps improve water quality, restore habitat, and strengthens our local economy. But now, as a father raising a young family here, I understand how much the future depends on the choices we make today. Southold is facing real challenges: erosion, overdevelopment, aging infrastructure. We need trustees who can tackle them with skill and with discipline. I'm ready to put my experience to work here for our town, combining science, engineering, and practical leadership to protect the waters and the way of life that defines Southold. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Pindar Damianos.
Good evening. Thank you to the Civic Associations, Dave Bergen, for putting on this event. My name is Pindar Damianos, and I'm running for Southold Town Trustee. I was born and raised in St. James. I've been coming out to the East End since I was 6 years old. My father started Pindar Vineyards in 1979. I've seen the wine industry grow from its infancy to what it is now. It's preserved over 2,000 acres on the East End, and that's what keeps this place pristine. I'm running for town Southold trustee because I believe that we need to protect what's left. I have a son who's in 11th grade in Mattituck School, and I want this place to be for him as was for me. I believe in farming, I believe in the family farm, and that's what's going to preserve the North Fork. And I have 2 degrees in plant science. I fell in love with the wine industry. I went to school in California for viticulture and enology. I have a degree from upstate New York as well. So it coincides. Farming coincides with the trustee's position. We're here to save the environment. We're here to protect the shorelines. It's nothing new. This is what we do in farming. We protect the farmland, we protect the soils, and we protect open space. So that's why I'm running for town trustee. I'm glad to be here tonight, and I look forward to the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Sepanaski.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Eric Sepanoski, currently serve as your town trustee. At the top, I just want to acknowledge our first responders for their efforts during the storm, including the highway department, keeping the roads open, and especially the PD, fire department, and medics who supported our most vulnerable residents here in the town at San Simeon. It's a privilege to be here with you all to enact our civic duties and strengthen our political community. I'm running for re-election as your town trustee. I'm a farmer, the 4th generation at Sepp's Farm, raising my 2 boys on the same lands that shaped me as a Southolder. I'm an educator devoted to helping youth learn about our estuaries and their role as caretakers. And I belong to a tradition of stewardship and embody these principles in my work as a trustee. My colleagues and I on the Board of Trustees, 2 of whom I see this evening, will handle nearly 2,000 applications in our 4 years together. We go to every property that comes before our board. I'm there to do the work late into the night at Town Hall, professional, sharp, on the record.
balancing private and public interests, protecting public access, fighting for water quality, and safeguarding our waterfront for the long term. I thank the Civics for this opportunity to speak and the opportunity to answer your questions this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Terry Boyle Romanelli was not able to be here tonight due to professional conflict, but we wanted to give her the opportunity to give an introductory statement. So Peter Ganley is going to give that for her. Excuse me.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to be here on behalf of Terry Boyle Romanelli, who couldn't be here due to a mandatory work trip. Thank you to the Civics, Coalition of Civics, and Dave especially. Thank you for organizing this. So I'm going to read a statement from Terry on her behalf. I cannot be here tonight because I have a prior business commitment. I currently work at DocuSign as a sales manager from my home. This is one of the rare occasions where I must travel for work. I'd be happy to meet with anybody who wishes for coffee, though. If you have further questions, I can be reached at terry@voteforterry.org. I have a strong background in environmental stewardship and community service through my involvement as a board member with the North Fork Environmental Council, the Long Island Farm Bureau, as well as other community organizations such as Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the Audubon Society, CAST, Eastern Long Island Hospital, and as a member of both the Mattatuck and Cutchogue Civic Associations. I'm an experienced boater and have knowledge of our coastal waterways, from the Sound to the Peconic Bay, as I bought my first boat, the Wild Irish Rose, in my 20s. And I've continued to ply the waters of the East End ever since. I even owned my own charter fishing business in Montauk in the past. I graduated as valedictorian and earned an athletic scholarship from Stanford University, where I was the first in my family to graduate from college. I have built a successful career as a sales executive in the technology industry and currently work at DocuSign. I am a realtor in Southold Town for the last 20 years, and I possess a deep understanding of the regulations of homeownership in this region's coastal communities. I also hold teaching degrees from CW, Post, and Fordham, and I have taught in our local school districts. In 2023, I earned an MBA from Villanova. As you can see, I am a nerd and a lifelong learner. For over 30 years, my husband Paul and I have been residents of Cutchogue, where we raise 5 children. I am proud to say that all of our children are North Fork natives. I recognize the immense value of Southold's environment and coastal resources, and as trustee, I am dedicated to ensuring clean waters, preserving the waterfront, and fostering the continued prosperity of our community. I plan to leverage my environmental, business, and educational experience to design innovative ideas to educate the community about the regulations that protect our coastal environment and streamline the current trustee process. In closing, Southold's environment and coastal resources are its most valuable assets. As a trustee, I will work hard to ensure that our waters remain clean, our work in waterfronts is preserved, and our community continues to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final trustee candidate, Liz Galuli.
This mic seems to be giving everybody a little trouble. Hello? Is that working?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is the hottest show in town, huh? And thank you to the Civics Associations for hosting this. Public service to me is about listening, standing up, and doing the work that makes a real difference in people's lives. Over the past 4 years, I've earned a reputation as a trustee who's effective and leads with integrity. I bring that same energy whether I'm serving as the Director of Operations at the North Fork Arts Center, protecting our shoreline as a trustee, or working on the waters that I grew up on as a U.S. Coast Guard licensed captain. 7 months ago, I became a parent for the very first time, and that little person has brought a whole new depth to the meaning of this work, because protecting our shorelines is not just good policy, it's our promise to future generations. I'm proud of what I've accomplished in the last 4 years. Namely, I have worked line by line through town code to suggest updates, many of which have been adopted by the town board. I've also worked with the Conservation Advisory Council as the liaison and helped to expand their mission beyond trustee jurisdictions so they could begin to focus on sustainability issues townwide. I've also served as the liaison to the Peconic Estuary Partnership, where I've strengthened our voice in protection of our shoreline. I'm proud to serve alongside a dedicated board of trustees, all of whom are here tonight. Shout out to Nick Krupski, Glenn Goldsmith, and Elizabeth Peoples, as well as Eric. I care deeply about this job and I take it seriously. I know the code, I know the coastline, and I understand how much this community depends on thoughtful, balanced decision-making. With that, I ask for your support and for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to County Legislature, Greg Dorosky.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. I'd also like to thank all these candidates. It really is an act of courage to run for public office. A heck of a lot of work, but it's really important work we all do, so thank you. So my name is Greg Dorosky, and I'm running for the Suffolk County Legislature. I currently serve on the Southold Town Board. I'd like to give a shout out to Jill there, one of my closer colleagues on the board. Brian, Al, Ann, and I know Louisa would be here if she didn't have to take a 3-hour ferry ride. So it really has been a joy working with this board in particular over the past 2 years. Now on the board, I am also a police commissioner. So although my opponent and her allies have run attacks on me that I'm pro-crime, I have a strong record of working with our police department, specifically our PBA president, to bring real meaningful change to benefit our officers. I'm proud to have the endorsement of former legislator and current town supervisor Al Krupski. Al is one of those people who, although my opponent says he's endorsed me for political reasons, is the pure anti-political public servant, right? So I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate the model that he set of being actively engaged in the town issues, speaking at public hearings, coming to the town to offer his assistance, and it really sets a model for the legislator that I will be, and unfortunately the legislator that my opponent is not, who unfortunately had not been to a single town board meeting until up about a month ago. We have really important work to do, and I look forward to continuing this in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And one suggestion for all the candidates, leave the mic in the stand, because it does, when you pick it up and walk around, it cuts in and out for the audience. If you have to, you can raise the mic up, obviously, a little bit in height, but it just helps. All right, next up, Catherine Stark.
Good evening. My name is. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Catherine Stark. I am currently served as your legislator. I started with the county over 30 years ago. I had just recently gotten divorced and I needed a job. I had 3 small children. I started as a secretary, answering phones, filing. I had a typewriter on my desk because there were no computers at that time. I slowly worked my way up and then realized that I needed to finish my education because I had not finished my college education. I have a family. So while there were preteens and I was working for former county executive Bob Gaffney, I went back to school. I did my last 2 years in 2 years while working full-time and raising my family. I moved on to the clerk of the legislature when county executive Gaffney no longer did not seek the election. I worked for the clerk of the legislature for several years. before moving on to be Chief of Staff to Legislator Jay Schneiderman on the South Fork. I worked with him for 7 years, and then Supervisor Krupski, who was then legislator, reached across the board and asked me if I would consider working with him. I said yes, and I worked for him as his Chief of Staff for 10 years. I'm most proud of the recent working waterfront property that we just passed. I worked very, very closely with Ann Walker on the South Fork and the County Executive's Office. This will be modeled after the farmland preservation. It will preserve our working waterfronts, and I look forward to the first purchase. So I see it's time to wrap up. Thank you so much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Before we move to assessor, Maggie, could you possibly push the AC button, please, on the two thermostats?
Thanks, Dave.
I turned the heat off earlier, but now we need the AC on. Thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to the assessors. First up is Dana Forenza.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you to the Civic Associations for hosting this forum. My name is Dana Forenza, and I am running for Southold Town Assessor. I am a graduate of Mattituck High School, an alumni of Stony Brook University, and I live in Mattituck with my husband and our son. I am a licensed insurance agent, and for the past 10 years, I have been working for a local brokerage where I specialize in personal lines. I write a lot of homeowners insurance across Southold Town, and as a result, I have extensive experience calculating the replacement cost of local homes, which is a cost per square foot calculation that determines coverage amounts. I understand how to apply a formula and assign a value to local properties. And I spend my days client-facing, explaining how I got to that replacement cost number, walking clients through the claims process, or just explaining how an insurance policy works and what you are paying for. My insurance experience, service skills, and knowledge of our local community have prepared me to serve in the assessor's office. In addition to my preparedness to do the work of the assessor is the fact that I have a deep love for Southold Town. I grew up here, I'm raising my family here, and I want to give back. The assessor's office is an environment where I can use the skills that I have honed over the course of my insurance career to serve our residents and business owners in a better way. As your elected assessor, it would be my job to ensure that property taxes are applied correctly and fairly across Southold Town. And if you elect me, I promise to bring a sense of fairness and empathy to every assessment and every interaction with the public. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I can count on your vote on November 4th.
Thank you, Dana. Next up would be Charles Sanders, and as I think everybody in the room knows, Charles Sanders is currently serving his country overseas. So giving his 2-minute statement will be his wife, Alina.
This is the first time I've spoken in public. Good evening all. I am Alina, the wife of Charles Sanders. And I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who has supported and helped campaign for my husband's re-election. My husband wishes that he could be here tonight. This moment means so much to him, and his absence is felt deeply. With kindness and understanding, I ask to speak for him this evening, not just as his wife, as someone who believes in the work he is committed to. Charles is committed to service, whether it is to his family, to his community, or to the responsibilities entrusted to him. He shows up with loyalty, integrity, and heart. Just like marriage takes consistency and effort, so does public service. And I have seen firsthand that my husband takes both seriously, not because he must, but because it matters to him. His devotion to this community is evident in every step of his service, including
including 7 dedicated years as post commander of the American Legion in Southold. During his tenure, he organized the annual golf outing fundraiser, providing 1,000 scholarships to students, $1,000 scholarships to students in Southold, Matatuck, and Newport. He also launched an advertising initiative called The Reporter, the American Legion's local publication, which generated enough revenue to sustain itself. He also secured funding for the Post new sign, and working alongside local Navy ROTC students led the renovation of the commander's office, restoring pride and purpose to the Post. Each year he has led the Walk for Valor, raising awareness and critical funds to combat veteran suicide, while also supporting mentorship and scholarships for veterans and their families. He has marched in every local parade, stood beside you at community events, and shown up not just as an official, but as a neighbor who truly cares. His dedication to service was honored when he was named Public Servant of the Year 2022. He employs data-driven methods to ensure that our values accurately reflect real market trends.
Alina, if you could please wrap it up.
Okay, sorry. Verify property information, consistent analysis. He stays people-oriented because behind every assessment is a homeowner, a family, a neighbor who deserves respect and clear communication. He maintains an open door policy, always welcoming questions, concerns, and conversation, because your local government should be approachable and accountable. And I have a lot more, but I will wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So, currently he is serving in the Middle East since June, and he can't be here, but he wants to say that he loves his country, he loves this community, and wants another opportunity to serve as town assessor. This evening, I ask for your continued confidence that your vote for Charles Sanders to be re-election as town assessor come November. Thank you.
Good job. You did a very good job. Leah Tillman Sullivan.
Thank you to the Joint Civics for holding this evening, and hello, Mrs. Gibbons. My name is Leah Tillman Sullivan, and I'm running for Southold Town Tax Assessor. I'd like to share a little bit about who I am, why I'm running, and why I believe I'm the right person for the role. I was raised on the North Fork. I'm a 1992 graduate of Matatuck High School. I went on to earn my degree from Lafayette College in Pennsylvania. From an early age, I was drawn to public service, and for 12 years, I worked as a congressional aide to Congressman Tim Bishop, where I gained invaluable experience in government and community outreach. I learned how to listen, problem solve, and deliver results for the people that I served. Through this, I also came to appreciate the vital role of public servants and the vital role they play in strengthening our communities. Government only works when qualified, dedicated individuals step up to serve. I'm running for tax assessor because I love this community, and my background has given me the skills and the experience to serve our residents with professionalism and fairness. After my time in government, I earned my real estate license and learned how to fairly evaluate property values, an essential part of the assessor's job. I also served as the executive director of the North Fork Chamber of Commerce, where I oversaw membership and day-to-day management. These roles required strong organizational skills and accountability, qualities that are equally critical for the tax assessor's office. My professional experience, combined with my deep sense of fairness, ensures I will approach the role of tax assessor with responsibility and with integrity. For the past 8 years, I've run the Village Tea Shop located in Matatuck, and have gained a real appreciation for the challenges and the rewards of running a small business here on the North Fork. In every role I've held, whether in government, real estate, business, or community leadership, I focus on service, fairness, and accountability. I love this community, and I'm committed to ensuring that every resident is treated fairly. On Tuesday, November 4th, I ask for your support and the opportunity to serve as one of your next tax assessors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ken Poliwata.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all being here. I am Ken Poliwata. I am running for Southold Town Tax Assessor. I'm a lifelong third-generation resident of Southold Town. I'm happily married to Barbara for 30 years, and we have raised 2 great sons, Alex and Charlie, here in Southold. We actively support so many local organizations in our community. I've graduated from Southold High School, then SUNY Maritime College with a Bachelor of Science. I've volunteered for the Southold Fire Department, but I was Vice President of Southold Little League, a Peconic Lions baseball coach, a CYO basketball assistant coach, a vigorous volunteer for the American Heart Association, East End Seaport Museum, and Southold Historic Museum. I grew up working very hard farming on the family farms and fishing as a baby here on our town waters. I am a former Southold Town trustee, having served 2 terms from 1998 through 2006. In 2006, I began a successful career in real estate. I've been assessing property values for over the past 20 years. This has given me the experience and qualifications for the job I seek as Southold Town Tax Assessor. At the end of the day, if the votes are counted, I do not look to replace Charles Sanders, but I look to work with him. I'm here this evening to ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the town clerk position. Dennis Noncaro.
Thank you, Dave. I'm afraid to touch this thing. We're gonna go with it. I saw Carol earlier. She said, you know, you got 2 minutes to tell everybody how great you are, so I don't know how that's gonna go, but let's see. So I'm a Mattituck graduate. I hate to say 1981, that really, don't judge me on that. But I had a father, a lot of you know him, and he brought me along with him because he was such a community person. He was involved with all kinds of different, the Kiwanis Club and, you know, things like that. And he taught me, he said, you have to be there for this community. This community is terrific. These people are terrific. You have to show them your love, and you have to be there when they need you. And that's what I look at in the clerk's office. I'm there. I want to be there when the phone rings. When you need me, you reach out to me. And that's what we've made out of this clerk's office. I have a fabulous staff, and basically what we do is we're there for you. We take every type of administrative task we have. So we took the first 50 and we put a head of that task. We put a second in charge of that task. And what we do is we discuss each task, we rotate them around, and we try to do what's best on each task to get what you need to you. And we communicate it the best we can. There's a lot of things we do that a lot of people don't know we do. You know, alarm permits. We do alarm permits now. It's just about a full-time role in our office. We made it available online so people could pay their money online to get them. Fisher's Island, we do the mooring permits online now. So this is stuff we're always discussing, how to do better with this office, how to do better and communicate with you. So I thank you for your time and appreciate everything that this community is. Thank you. And I still got 15 seconds.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right.
Next up, Abigail Field.
Hi. He is a tough act to follow because he is a lovely human being, and we all know that. My name is Abigail Fields, and I'm running for Southold Town Clerk for 2 reasons. First, because I feel indebted to this town, and I want to pay you back with service. In April 23, my husband had a catastrophic, nearly life-ending workplace accident, and my family went into crisis, and this town had our back. The Lions Club came out for us, Kate's Angels came out for us, the Southold Dems came out for us, lots of individuals, starting with this Boss John Fad, came out for us. And as a result, when I really needed to, I could pay attention to my husband and my children. And 2 years later, my children are thriving and my husband is making the best of his new life. So one reason I'm running is because I want to pay you back, and I hope I get that opportunity. The second reason I'm running is because I went to law school to make government better. In New Jersey, I led the coalition that defeated then Democratic Governor John Corzine when he wanted to sell the toll roads to a private for-profit company. Imagine if we'd lost and New Jersey's toll rates were set for profit. I was the legislative counsel for the Voting Rights Lab, and analyzing election law, state election law across the country, I worked to expand voting rights in both blue states and red states. As your clerk, I can make Southold government better for you. For example, I could expand the office hours without increasing costs. I could also continue to make government more transparent by summarizing the work sessions and making that publicly available. Because the town board gets its work done in the work session, and if you want to really participate in the big issues of the day, you need to know what happened in session. The third thing I'll do is review every process in the town clerk's office to look for efficiencies. Because Southold has a habit of doing things the way they always did it, and I'm confident that there are ways we could save a little time and money. And that's just year one. I have a lot I could offer you across the years if you would elect me. So on November 4th, I ask for your support out of Gill Field for Southold Town Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Highway Superintendent, we have Greg Schlachter.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Greg Schlachter. I've lived here all my life. Proud graduate of Southold High School. For 40 years, I've worked with heavy equipment, construction, and road maintenance. The kind of hands-on work that keeps this town moving. I got my start with Terry Latham Sand and Gravel, where I learned what it really takes to build, maintain Southold's roads, from running machinery to managing crews and tackling the tough jobs in any kind of weather. Those years taught me more than how to fix roads. They taught me how to lead by example, to show up, get the job done right, and earn the respect of the people working beside me. For the last decade, I have been part of Southold Highway Department, where I've seen firsthand the challenges our crews face every day. This job isn't just about filling potholes. It's about leadership. It's about building a team that takes pride in their work, feels supported, and understands that every task, no matter how small, is important to the town, safer and stronger. I've also had the privilege of serving our community through the fire department and the American Legion, where teamwork, accountability, and service come first. The same values I'll bring to the highway department every day. If elected, I'll work to restore pride and morale, ensure tax dollars are spent wisely, and keep our roads safe, clean, and reliable year-round. I'll also work closely with our partners in every level of government to advocate the resources our department needs to get the job done right. I'm not a politician. I'm your neighbor, your co-worker, and someone who's been putting in the work for decades. It isn't a partisan position. It can't be. I'm committed to serving all the residents of this town. And I'd be honored to earn your trust and support in your vote November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next up, Dan Goodwin.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. My name is Dan Goodwin, and I am seeking re-election as your Southold Town Highway Superintendent to continue planning the work and working the plan for every neighborhood in Southold Town. Being raised in this town by a multi-generational family and being a lifelong resident of Cutchogue, where I live with my wife and 2 young children, I'm strongly connected to our history and deeply invested in our future. Over the last 15 years, I've put my engineering education to work on utility and infrastructure projects, industrial maintenance, and emergency response. I know how to stretch a dollar and how to get the job done right. I recognize the need for a highway department, your highway department, that not just responds to problems, but proactively prevents them, and that's exactly what we've been building. During my first term, we've installed 150 new drainage systems with our in-house crews, paved 45 lane miles of roadway, replaced 2 miles of sidewalk. I pre-staged crews and equipment strategically in order to deploy resources more efficiently for snow and storm events, to provide the highest level of service to this community. I've also carefully developed, managed, and operated your highway department's $8.3 million annual budget. It's a tremendous responsibility that I do not take lightly. For the first time in history, there's a long-term capital plan in place. This plan uses sensible and careful fiscal budgeting to upgrade our equipment fleet and solve our legacy infrastructure problems in this town. The capital plan ensures the department will have reliable modern equipment and facilities to serve our town in a sustainable, tax-neutral way. I understand this job is about listening and it's about showing up. When a tree uproots in the dead of night, a sign is damaged, a record-breaking blizzard hits, or a rare tornado touches down in Mattituck, I will continue to be there and I will continue to answer your calls. I'll continue to work for every neighborhood in Southold and not just the ones that make the most noise. I will continue to plan the work and work the plan with competence, transparency, and results that you can see, drive, and walk on. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And under Town Justice, we have candidate Eileen Powers.
Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Eileen Powers, and for the last nearly 8 years, I've served as the Southold Town Justice, and I am running for re-election. I'm also proud to say that 6 years ago, I was appointed by the administrative judge for Suffolk County to serve as a volunteer member of the East End Regional Intervention Court, a treatment court for non-violent offenders whose substance abuse and addiction were related to their crimes and who are ready for treatment. I've also been elected by my peers to serve as president of the Suffolk County Magistrates Association, which is an organization made up of all of the town and village judges in Suffolk County. By way of personal background, I lived in Southold for about 30 years with my husband Larry Tuthill, where we've raised 3 children, Meg, Sean, and Molly Tuthill. I've run a private law practice for the better part of 23 years. But I started my career as a prosecutor in the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. I served there for about 10 years, for the better part of 10 years. I could tell you stories about the cases I had, but what I want to tell you about is what we didn't do. In the time I was there, we never talked about, nor did we care, who was a Democrat and who was a Republican. At my first meeting, we were told that we were prosecutors, not persecutors. And that this wasn't just a job, but a responsibility. And that our mission was to always do the right thing, the right way, for the right reason. Now, sadly, that philosophy appears to be in jeopardy. So I thought it was important for all of you to know that I still live by and believe in that philosophy. Anyone who's been in my court knows that everybody in my court is treated fairly, regardless of who you are, who you know, where you were born, or what political party you belong to.
If you could please wrap it up.
There is one set of laws for everyone. That is the rule of law. And I think it's more important now than ever that we stand up for the rule of law. I am seeking re-election on November 4th, and I promise you that I will always stand up for the rule of law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the opening statement. So yes, a round of applause for all of the candidates. So what we're going to do now is move on to the questions. And we'll take a minute here, and the town board candidates, if you'll move up to the stage. We'll have name cards in a second in front of your place. And the candidates will answer the questions from up on the stage. If people could please take your seats. I'd love to give you a 5-minute break, but this is gonna go on a long time, so we appreciate everybody's cooperation, and we apologize for the tight quarters up there on the stage. Okay, we're gonna move on to the first question for the town board candidates. And Brian, you're the first one to address this. And here's the question, and the same question will be given to every candidate. The Southold Town Comprehensive Plan states that the lack of affordable housing is at crisis proportions. What aspects of the zoning update do you believe will help incentivize a substantial increase in affordable housing? What would you change in the proposed code to allow for new development projects, including multiple unit housing? 2 minutes each.
I'm just proud to say off the top that if you're concerned about housing, I'm the most consistent supporter of community housing that's on this dais. And that means that the projects that fit for Southold, I voted and supported for. So in my mind, I separate the comprehensive plan from the zoning update. I think the zoning update will give us more options. And if you look at the ADU possibility, accessible dwelling units, that's one possibility, and getting support money for that, where people can update their house to have either their family member or somebody on the housing list in that accessible dwelling unit. I do feel like it's a process where you guys gave us the 0.5 transfer tax that supports the money in the housing plan. So the voters did that. So now we have about $5 million in the housing plan for Southold, and now we're trying to work with contractors and builders to do the affordable housing. So I'm proud to announce, as somebody busy trying to accomplish some of that we've supported a local plan on Love Lane for 12 rental units, and also we're hoping for just around the corner, 22 ownership units on Carroll Avenue. So I'm just proud to say that I've been busy. I'm proud to say I've been listening when we're at the zoning update and when we talk about the comprehensive plan, that we are doing the work and we have the components in place to be successful. Having the housing coordinator, Andrea Mengelar, working with Glenn Schroeder, our town liaison. So we're just starting to synergize the effort to have results. And I'm proud that I've been working all along. We have the mother of affordable housing, Rhoda Smith, in the audience, and I'm proud to say we didn't stop. You encouraged us to keep going forward, and I appreciate your example.
Thank you. Next up is Stephanie. And Stephanie, would you like me to repeat the question, or do you think you have it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The Southold Town Comprehensive Plan states that lack of affordable housing is at crisis proportions. What aspects of the zoning update do you believe will help incentivize a substantial increase in affordable housing? What would you change in the proposed code to allow for new development projects, including multiple unit housing?
Thank you. I can say that on Fisher's Island, affordable housing is also a critical need. And without it, we're not going to be able to grow our year-round population. I think collectively our community hopes that the ADU will allow for some type of community housing on Fisher's Island. I can't really speak for Southold at this point, but you know, if elected, I will certainly come up to speed and learn more about all of this and what the needs are here in Southold. You know, I do think the 0.5% tax will be helpful in getting housing.
Thank you. Kate Stevens is next. And Kate, do you need me to repeat the question for you? Okay.
What works and what doesn't work in the zoning update proposed for affordable housing? My understanding is that the way it's being framed is community housing, attainable housing, workforce housing. And there are significant opportunities being presented by the new proposed zoning update, particularly on Fisher's Island I can speak to, but also more generally, I know there's discussion about a community housing overlay. I think it's sort of, maybe there's been a lot of push for it, and I hope it will be included, and if not in this initial phase of the zoning update, as a subsequent immediate effort. It's so important. We all know the crisis that's affecting the root of the community. If there's no place to live, then nothing else works. So it's an agreed upon priority by the entire community, and hence a part of the zoning update. The whole purpose of the zoning update was to bring the code in alignment with community vision. On Fisher's Island, we have a bunch of new specific sites where there will now be possibility or opportunity for affordable or attainable or workforce housing, however we're going to call it. There's an Island Marines, Fisher's Island specific district that's new to the code, which will actually allow and grandfather some existing attainable housing in those areas and allow for more. There's an extension of Hamlet Residential, which will allow some more housing in areas that there used to be buildings and no longer. And then there's a particular area called the Gatehouse Slots, where it's being pitched as a place specifically for year-round residents and workforce housing. And people also, after they leave their job and their job-related housing, will have a place to live. So there's specific projects that the new zoning update will allow to happen on Fisher's Island. And I believe strongly that the community housing overlay will be a real benefit to the whole community.
Thank you. Nick Planamento. And again, Nick, if you like me to repeat the question, I will.
No, I think I'm good with the question, and I think honestly, the two documents are sort of separate from one another, but they need to be married together. Community housing or affordable housing is a huge topic that's been kicked around, I want to say, for generations. I don't think it's anything new to Southold, and I would question the current town board why they haven't achieved it, why projects like the one on Love Lane have sort of stalled and taken so long. There are many people that want to invest in affordable housing in Southold, and I just don't see that pathway forward for them. Yes, it's great that we have the additional 0.5% fee assessed on all real estate transfers, and it's great that we now have an individual that's assigned to help task and write that code. But everything really starts with zoning and town code, and as legislators, I think we have an opportunity here that we could move efficiently and quickly. I don't want to say death by committee, but so many things get passed off. I currently serve as the vice chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm part of the decision process that allows individuals, property owners, the right to have an ADU in their backyard. It's an interesting tool, but it's only one tool that I think that could be used. There are many other options, and I think it goes back to zoning. So as part of the zoning reform that we're all experiencing, that we've been discussing, I'd really like to see the opportunity for a variety of housing stock, have zoning that permits it, and to really encourage the development of business owners, property owners, to make the investment in town to achieve this and make it a fast-tracked, easy process for all.
Thank you. Alexis. And Alexa, if you'd like me to repeat the question, I will.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that we can all agree that this is a pressing issue, because I would argue it is the most pressing issue in Southold Town, as a young person who's also trying to stay here. Now, the comprehensive plan actually does a very good job of mapping out a bunch of ideas on what we can do to make this issue better. Ultimately, it is a macroeconomic issue, so we have to address that. I do think our zoning update will do a lot to ensure that we can have larger parcels and more options for the building of affordable housing. Currently, our committee for affordable housing was just appointed that leader, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does. I do want to say that I would love to see an expanded housing overlay. Right now it's sort of just over the halo zones, and I would love to see that affordable housing overlay expanded. I would also love to see partnerships with nonprofits and non-governmental organizations to create a housing trust, actually, just like what is on Fisher's Island, called the Walsh Park project. And what that does is it essentially acts as a trust, just like say the Conic Land Trust, that puts aside land for affordable housing with the idea that it is crucial to have affordable housing for our young people, for our families, for our economy as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris, if you come up to the microphone here, might be a little better. Chris Talbert? Again, if you'd like me to repeat the question, or are you fine?
I'm fine. Comprehensive plan, as we know it, is a plan. It's a plan that, towns and municipalities try to follow. You can't always follow the exact plan as it's written. I was on the town board previously. Accessory dwelling units were around back then, and the choice was you could do it for affordable housing or you could do it for family. And these were in the accessory structures on the properties. The overwhelming majority of those that were built were for family and not for affordable housing on the individual property. We haven't found it yet where the residents want to put these extra units on their property as for somebody else to live there. With Rona's project that was referenced, that was turned down resoundingly because it was not in the halo zone that was referenced. The whole purpose of that halo zone was because people would be in the downtown areas where they could walk to the supermarket, walk to the post office, the library, and make it more accessible for public transportation. There's been a project that has been pitched in downtown Cutchogue. It's been kicking around for about 10 years or so, and there was extreme pushback from the immediate neighbor. The town board is going to have to make some tough choices, and I'm willing to make the tough choices. I'm not supportive, I would say, on multi-story buildings in Southold Town. I don't want us to start looking like Riverhead, coming into our downtown areas with 4 and 5 stories. I wouldn't support that. The CPF fund should be fantastic for us, as long as we get that plan in place. I know that Jill Doherty and the board and Ann Smith have been working on that resoundingly, so it's pretty close to helping supplement these projects to go forward. And I would also like to do public-private partnerships in this. The town on a whole, early on, they didn't have the wherewithal to, when these projects were built, they weren't retained to be forever affordable, as they are now. I would like to see more one-story units, such as the cottages in Mattatuck, and I will push to create those to move them forward and continue a public-private partnership and properly use the CPF funds for these. Thank you.
Chris, you're going to be up for it. The next question.
Climate change and rising sea levels present current and future challenges to public safety and property in Southold. How will you work to make coastal resiliency analysis, vulnerability assessment, and planning a short-term priority for town action?
One of the things that's been kicking around again for a while is the roadways. Previously serving on the board, I went around during Superstorm Sandy, was out in Orient, and a couple of the other fallout shelters, bailout shelters, and the roadways were blocked. We were almost blocked out in Orient because they were shutting down the causeway. So areas like that, when you go around town and be in the fire department, you have people that have to be removed from their houses. In Mattatuck, it's down by Camp Mineola Road. In New Suffolk had become its own island out there. Both roadways, New Suffolk Road and New Suffolk Avenue, were both shut down. There was 4 feet of water on New Suffolk Avenue by the most eastern bridge. I would push with our county partners, get any funding where we can from the state and the feds to help raise those roadways up. As far as infrastructure goes, that's the avenue I would take with that. Coastal resiliency in our houses, as we already do now as a building official, all the new houses are built to FEMA standards. Biggest reason for that is not so that storms don't come in and damage the houses and affect the insurance companies and people lose what they have built. Those things will continue to move forward as they already are, and they are required to according to FEMA regulations. But any of the other things that come up with particular roadways and such, of course I would support it to protect the residents in the town.
Thank you. Brian?
So thanks to Al Krupski, the current town board met with our county partners, Legislature Stark, and members of the county government to talk about that very issue, to make sure, as Chris referenced, that we are raising the roads in the zone where if you look at Southold Town Beach and every major storm, it's washed out and we're in danger of flooding. But I just want to say, in terms of the interconnectedness of the town government, excuse me, we have Dan Goodwin, who every major storm, he's out on the road, making sure where the flooding is occurring, making his notes, and then he'll connect with our emergency preparedness program. So it's not as if, we're just relying on the county to raise those roads that are important, and then we have to talk to the state to raise the state roads that are in danger of being flooding when we have these major storms. So just that the town is making a concerted effort to make sure not only are we locking down what we're doing for the town, but we're reaching out to our county and state partners to make sure we're getting the funding to make sure the roads are clear. And how do we notify people when there's a major storm? Are we on WLNG? Is it on Instagram? Is it clear? Is it in multiple languages to make sure when people are in danger? So I feel like the town is on the case in terms of trying to make sure we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's to make sure that we're dealing with this ever-changing problem and drawing all the resources, whether it's the town resources, the county resources, or asking for state representation.
Thank you. Stephanie Hall.
I agree with what's been said by Chris and Brian, to use federal agencies to get funding to increase or raise the roads and prevent the flooding, and also the use of natural barriers to prevent corrosion can be beneficial as well.
Thank you. Kate Stevens.
I think preparedness and planning is key here, and working together and collaborating, as people have already mentioned. There on Fisher's Island this summer, well, it wasn't really on Fisher's Island, it was actually Fisher's Island and the rest of Southold Town. There was a Nature Conservancy Community Resiliency Workshop, which brought together about 21 figures, both from the town hall through the Office of Emergency Management to anchor institutions on Fisher's Island, and including community leaders there. And we talked about risks, threats, and what our opportunities are on the island. And much of that translates to the rest of Southold Town. And threats, we know what they are. The high winds, the tide changing, the rising waters, the superstorms, and the threats also to fiscally for impacts to our electric infrastructure and all of those things. So the main thing really is understanding, seeing a big picture together, making sure our maps are accurate. There's some citizen science work we could also use. I think it's called My Ocean, or where you can go and you sort of like iBird, where you can take pictures during a storm that are geolocated, so we can really start to track down where the problem areas are. And people know basically, but I think it's useful to have that additional data. And then it's about creating a mitigation toolkit so we can adapt, protect, and retract where necessary. Natural barrier features that were already mentioned. Our eelgrass is an enormous resource for us. It's working for us already, as are our wetlands and marshlands. They're naturally protecting us. So understanding their work in the system and not impeding them with over-hardening is key. And I guess that's all. Thank you.
Nick Planamento.
Southold has an incredible rich history going back almost 400 years, and this is, again, a new conversation. We've heard stories that during the hurricane in 1938, Orient was cut out, or rather cut off from the rest of the town. During more recent storms, you've seen all kinds of problems and risks. So it's something that we really need to be prepared for. I think that as a legislator, it's our job to turn, as we've heard from other candidates, I think we have all great ideas, but the responsibility to turn to those professionals that are really the engineers, the designers, the ones that understand the concept of coastal resistancy. I'm reminded of a story from our town engineer that I was discussing with him one day where there was the concept of raising a roadway. And while it sounds like a great thing and it's an opportunity to sort of save a home, we have to have the balance, I think, in place, because all the neighbors come out against that very idea of raising a roadway or raising somebody's property to protect them. So I do think that it's something that we need to review with the town engineer, with the county level, with the state, and to work in unison. And believe me that while I might not have all the answers, I do know the people to turn to ask those questions, to achieve the goals at hand, and to protect us. I would also argue it's something that I'm forever amazed with. We live in a coastal community, yet I don't know if there's clearly an established evacuation plan to help our citizens. And it's something that I think that needs further discussion and investigation.
I'd just like to echo some of the sentiments that were already said, but at the end of the day, this is not an issue that I can solve, and it's not an issue that any one of us can solve. This is an issue that we can only solve together when we work with our county and our state. So it's actually the county's data that says that by 2050, we expect a 16-inch sea rise right by Town Beach in Southold. And that's a pretty dire statistic. So while Mr. Planamento is correct, not everybody will enjoy raising the roads or having the option to raise their homes or their properties. This is something that we won't have much of a choice in, or we will be underwater. So once again, implementing shoreline softening, trusting our trustees to do their jobs well, and working with other municipalities, other groups, other nonprofits, the county and the state will be imperative.
Okay, Alexa, don't go anywhere. Okay. The next question has to do with the town budget. The town budget serves not only as a short and long-range financial planning tool, but also as an important policy and governance document impacting critical services such as public safety. How will you work to make the budget more understandable to town residents and communicate the town board's goals and priorities on issues of concern, including the impact of large, expansive capital projects which require long-term bonding on tax increases in future budgets?
Sure. So this year, we actually passed a $62.3 million budget. That's not a small amount of money. That being said, we are currently, as a town, planning for projects in 2026 and 2027. So we are using our budget and planning for our budget, not just for this year, but for the next 2 years. And by the way, the state comptroller actually recommends a 20% safety net, so we are actually doing the right thing. That being said, our infrastructure was not maintained for quite a long time, the previous administration. So we are doing catch-up work now to ensure that everybody remains safe and that our private property and our public properties do remain viable. So that being said, I do think I'm never going to be the type of politician to tell you that your taxes will never go up, because look around, everything has gone up. However, I am the type of person to tell you that we will be efficient and we will be fair in our taxation. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, you're up next. And Chris, would you like to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. The town budget serves not only as a short and long-term financial planning tool, but also as an important policy and governance document impacting critical services such as public safety. How will you work to make the budget more understandable to town residents and communicate the town board's goals and priorities on issues of concern, including the impact of large, expensive capital projects which require long-term bonding on tax increases in future budgets?
Okay, so the town budget, any budget, always seems confusing when you look at it on a whole. You have to really get down into the nuts and bolts of any budget and look into particular departments that the numbers are adhering to. And then you can see how it really becomes more clear. Going forward in Southold Town, we're seeing a big drop off in our school systems. Earlier this year, Sean Petretti from the Mattituck School, the superintendent there, spoke in front of the chamber meeting in Mattituck and spoke about how he was going to have to meet with the local school districts. The school districts in town here, and this is in relation to funding and going forward in taxes, is Mattituck School is down 700 kids. Southold School is down a few hundred kids. Greenport School is the only one that has grown. When you look in particular at the Greenport School budget, it's about $12 million less than Southold's budget. Mattituck's budget is in the high 40s, and we haven't gone down a cent in Mattituck. So when you're going to see some increases when we build a new police station, we adhere to some of the things that have to get done in this town, and the roadways and such, the infrastructure, it has to be done. The town has to be maintained, the police department isn't going anywhere, the highway department isn't going anywhere, and your town government isn't going anywhere. But I believe you could find savings in the savings that we're gonna get from the school to keep our budget in check and keep everything moving forward here in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, you're up. And would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay. The town budget serves not only as a short and long-range financial planning tool, but also as an important policy and governance document impacting critical services such as public safety. How will you work to make the budget more understandable to town residents and communicate the town board's goals and priorities on issues of concern, including the impact of large, expensive capital projects which require long-term bonding on tax increases in future budgets?
So we're currently undergoing the budget review. The town board is in public meetings where people can chime in or come to the town hall and see what the budget means. And I think basically people want to understand, how does this hit my bottom line? And as a sitting board member, how do you communicate that in a clear and concise way? So we talked about our community partners like the Civics. So hopefully the Civics will have budget meetings so people can understand further if they're not able to make the town meeting. Or they can, we record the meeting when we have the budget meeting. So just a basic understanding that it's a continuing education on how it affects the taxpayers. And we have to do a better job. And I do feel like Supervisor Krupski did do a good initial run with the town department heads. And now, as a sitting board member, we're doing that review process where the town department heads are discussing what their needs are. And how do you make sure that you run a lean and efficient budget, and what is the effect of our public in terms of the capital projects? And for me, we're talking about a serious capital project of the police station as a safety measure. And as we talked about in the past about not taking care of our responsibility in previous times, but I said initially in my statement about not kicking the can down the road, that is important that people understand why we need a new police station. And it's the safety of the men and women to protect our community. And it's, to be within the regulations of whatever the building specs are. So I'm proud that we're going forward, and it's our job to make sure people have a keen understanding. And it can't just be the board talking about how to understand the budget. It has to be our community partners like the Civics.
Thank you. Stephanie? And again, would you like me to repeat the question, or do you have it?
I'm okay, thank you. So Fisher's Island has infrastructure projects that are significant, that have been neglected for decades, and so that will be something that we will have to address. I think communication is key, and I like Ryan's suggestion to engage the civic groups to help with the communication of the priorities, why decisions were made the way that they were, and to help promote that understanding with the community.
Kate Stevens? Would you like me to repeat the question, or do you have it?
Okay. Well, I'd just like to clarify, I think I would maybe reframe it as not the town board's goals and priorities, but the community's goals and priorities is what the budget should reflect, because the town board is essentially a board of listeners that's reflecting the community vision. So the community is acting through the town board. And so that is, obviously needs dialogue, and definitely needs more dialogue, certainly on Fisher's Island than we're having. I think you could all learn to use, I just found out recently by talking to Dan actually that there's both an operating budget and a capital budget, and that, and that the capital budget is obviously for capital expenses, and the operating is for the regular, but it's important to know these things and know where the different projects are falling and what column they're falling in. And, on waste management, we're dealing with this all the time because, like the town of Southold, we have a lot of deferred maintenance, and we also have huge equipment issues where we need to replace equipment that has been maintained badly for years and years. The whole penny wise, pound foolish issue. At some point, someone's left holding the bill, which is what has happened to the town at large, and has happened to waste management in particular. So we're facing, how do we do it? Do we pierce the budget by how much? Do we have a bond? We do have an investment fund, can we use some of that rolling forward? So there are different tools available, and understanding which one to use is an important decision. I think there's also a linguistic thing of actually sharing with the members of the community what the different components are. I think the education work that the trustees been doing recently, explaining the components of the open grading and things, helping raise the level of literacy about the tools that the town board has at their hands, because they're basically the tools that we all have. So I think I have another note here, but I can't read it, so thank you.
Thank you. Nick, Planamento? And again, if you'd like me to reread the question.
No, I'm fine. I think it was clearly stated that, as a town board member, as a legislative, we're a group that listens. And that's one thing that I think I'm proud of in my professional life within the town of Southold, is to listen, to turn to the community for feedback and how to move forward. Budgeting is a huge issue, and nobody wants to see taxes go up. But as other people have suggested tonight, there is the need for infrastructure, capital improvements, all kinds of things within an aging town. Again, we are an older town. We're not somewhere in the southwest or a new community that's just been built out on the farm fields. We're about preservation and working from within and maintaining our community's heritage. I do think the question ultimately is really about transparency in government, and as a town board member, believe me, I want to be transparent. I want everyone to know what's going on. I want to look for ways, as perhaps suggested earlier, through the civics, through public forums. An important thing that I've missed in my own life over the last 2 years, sort of more since COVID, was just my Channel 22. I used to have Channel 22 on all the time, listening to what was going on in town hall, whatever the work session was, whatever, so I'd be in the know. Sadly, through a change of my choice to fiber optics, I didn't get Channel 22. I started talking to people in town. Nobody seems to get Channel 22. When I finally feel like I complained enough, even at the supervisor's level, nothing seemed to happen. But I got 22 with with the Riverhead service, so their mapping software was off. So I think information is key for people to have the right information. I can proudly say today, I turned on the TV and Channel 22 at Southold was in fact playing with the correct information. I don't know if this is streaming for people or not right now, but I do think that we want to maintain taxes to the best of our ability, to work within our budget, to be more conservative about decisions, and also to turn to grant writing and other sources for financing for these big projects, along with building reserves. Thank you.
Nick, you're going to be right up.
You did say fourth question.
Fred Teal, our former state assemblyman who ran for office as a Republican and a Democrat, once said, "Our environment is our economy." Describe your view of Southold Town's economic future. Will it be a 12-month, year-around economy, or a summer and fall-focused tourist economy? And what changes do you believe need to be made under either scenario to help our local businesses succeed?
Wow, I think that's sort of the elephant in the room. I think everyone knows in town that I'm also a real estate professional. I've been selling real estate since 1987. But I give a strong commitment to the town of Southold. The reason why I live here, my love of the town, is that I'm a preservationist. I love history. I think people in town hall that I work closely with are well aware of my commitment to land preservation, conservation subdivision. it's kind of frightening that as a kid, I remember going to Montauk or visiting, locations in East Hampton, the South Fork, and you see the Crepe Parade, but the North Fork sort of was spared that experience. Today it's here. We have more tourists now than ever. We have clogged roadways. We have a lot of frustration on so many levels. Whether it's Airbnb, one night or less than compliant 2-week stays, the conversation of hotels. My future vision of Southold is one about preservation, but we have to be sensible to recognize change and that we have to accept things. We have existing hotels that we could play upon. We have approved hotels that, despite whatever anxiety there was or is about them, they possibly will be developed depending upon the funding of those individual projects. But I do think that we need to be mindful, we need to have zoning in place, we need to have a plan as a town, which again, a forum I'd rather participate in, much like the charrettes that we've been having relative to the zoning update. We need to have a plan how to attack this, how to address it, and to be proactive as opposed to responding.
Thank you. Alexis Hughes.
So as a small business owner, I know all too well the limitations and the challenges that are placed upon our small businesses. I would like to see a little bit of both as far as the types of economies that you were mentioning. We both need to address the elephant in the room here, and we also need to understand the alternative. And that elephant in the room, of course, is tourism. Now, it is a reality that tourism makes up a good portion of our economy, and we will not be getting rid of it anytime soon. The question is, how are we going to manage it from here? So there's a few things that I would like to say specifically as a small business owner. One is that if you want to support small businesses, we need to support affordable housing. Because as a small business owner, I can say that you can't find staff if nobody can live here. Number two is I'd really like to make it easier for small businesses and entrepreneurs to open up here. And that means streamlining processes. You shouldn't have to go before 2 boards in order to open a small business here. There should also be trade-specific pipelines. If we do want trades and we want other industries that are not tourism-based, if we want plumbers and we want carpenters, and that means that we need to make it as easy as possible to create pipelines for high school entrepreneurs or high school graduates, entrepreneurs that might not want to go the college route. And we can partner with other entities like BOCES, and we can create those pipelines so that people can rely on an economy that's not just tourism-based. It's all about balance, and that means doing a little bit of everything and recognizing also that our small businesses have needs, and that need really is affordable housing. Thank you.
Chris Talbot.
Part of my thoughts is what's in my heart and what's in reality with this question. It's growing up here, when the late 70s, early 80s, I had the ability to work on a farm and tie cauliflower, pick strawberries in the spring, and then you kind of saw where potatoes were dropping off, and a pound of potatoes, $3 a 100 pounds, and farming was dying out. The real estate industry was kind of, people were selling their development rights for $7,000 an acre to the county back then, and that has changed dramatically. You had the wine industry come in here. You saw where the tractors were parked in the barns and nobody was out in the fields anymore, and the fields were starting to become fallow. So it's not to say that I don't want to see this continue to grow as it is. It brings a lot of money out here with the farms. Agritainment, as we like to call it, is we're feeling the effects of it now in the fall, and again into the winter months with Christmas tree season. The seasons used to die out, and they don't really die out as much as they used to. So it's a tough balance to say you don't like the tourism and you do like the tourism. I 100% agree with Alexa. The trade industry out here is an economy in itself. There's so much work that goes on in these houses, and it keeps people working. Good things for the school systems. They're back in having shop again, so that will continue to grow. But I don't have a problem with the way the tourism is going. We talk about it at the firehouse to the young firemen that, you know, you don't want it to change too much. Get your parents to sell your house, their house to you. You know, then you don't have to leave town. And that's a big thing. Keep it in the family and don't sell it to somebody who's gonna come and visit it, you know, once a month or maybe just rent it out. I don't like that side of the business, and I don't think that's good for Southold and our local communities.
Thank you, Chris. Brian?
So I'm glad Alexa said Eastern Suffolk BOCES, so you're looking at your local Eastern Suffolk BOCES board member. And we proudly have had Eastern Suffolk BOCES show and tells in this very room. And across the way is the Youth Bureau, and we're trying to connect our kids to local businesses. And we're talking to the Economic Development Council for Southold to talk about what local businesses are facing and how do you get beyond the seasonal economy. And we're talking about the need for hotels. Why can't, where a hotel is, why can't that be a biomedical center that can provide high-paying jobs? And essentially, housing is key, because if those kids are going to school for HVAC and for plumbing, and they're going to all places west, and we don't have the housing here to house them, you know, why would they come to our community and build up the community? So housing is essential, that we have to make sure we square that away if we have any possible plan to have a diversified economy. And we do have community resources like the Chamber of Commerce that have varied business understandings and do inform our community. So it's again going to our community stakeholders to make sure that we're having an understanding, that we're not in an ivory tower and think that we know everything from the town board, but we're reaching out again to the civics and have meetings about what type of economy do we have? Is it changing? Is it growing? And of course, the comprehensive plan is our roadmap. But what's the detours when we have to adjust, when we get better information? The zoning update is our roadmap. How do we use that effectively to guide us into the future, to have a vibrant Southold, where whatever the generations are, and our posterity can continue to live and to prosper. So thank you.
Are you good, Stephanie, or?
I am, thank you. Well, Fishers is basically a seasonal community, and we don't have tourism. And in fact, we don't really have a lot of small businesses. You know, the businesses are primarily landscapers, service industry, landscapers and contractors. But my hope is that if we can generate housing stock and increase our year-round population, maybe we will be able to you know, create opportunities for small businesses and increase our community and make it more vibrant year-round.
Thank you. Very good.
Just a second, I think what so many people have said, my vision is a thriving year-round community that has tourism. But the reason why tourists come here is because there's a there here. There's a somewhere here. And community is definitely where you live, not where you visit. And we should not build ourselves into becoming a nowhere, right? So what's special about what is happening is we have retained, for various intentional reasons and hard work over time, this balance of open space and settled space. And we cannot let that devolve into sprawl space that we all don't want to be in. So that's hard work, and it requires actively defending our open space in the ways that the trustees are doing, in the ways that the different efforts by the town boards are doing, the ways the community's been doing. You know, there's some successes and failures in that. We heard in the listening session last week a real sad story about a view shed that was lost in perpetuity in Greenport because the right forces were not in alignment at the right time to protect that. And so all of this also feeds into this idea of planning and seeing the big picture so that we are not reactive, but we proactively have a list also of vulnerable properties, and we're paying attention, and we've got the right funding lined up so we can act when things become available. So it's just really important also to mention that open space and development are not necessarily in conflict, People love open, wide spaces and vistas, but they also love urban environments. They love walking in downtown Bridgeport. They love those setbacks, people. They love that sidewalk, tree, front yard experience. So we need to make sure we're not undoing the stuff that's already working.
Okay, I'm going to break my own rule right now, and first off, ask everybody to get the blood flowing. Stand up and applaud for the town board candidate. And what we'll do now is switch around for the trustees. So if the town board candidates will come on down, and the trustee candidates will make their way to the stage.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be happening. Did you get that, what I was telling you about the flyer that I got? Oh, you did get it? Okay, because it's in the car when
It's pretty nasty here. I know.
But like, as I said, his name on the
Oh, gosh. Yeah, and I was surprised to see that. But I don't know what they're saying about him, because I don't read the other side. I don't know. I did get this. Oh, really? No.
Okay, everybody, you'll make your way back to your seat.
See what he said?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you, folks. Okay, we're going to move on to the trustees now. And the first question for the town trustee candidates. Town trustees have the authority to make town code recommendations to the town board. What recommendations would you make, or for the current trustees, have you made to the town board on town code as it concerns your mandate as a trustee? What would you like to see changed in the town code? First up, Liz Glooley.
Thank you so much, and for everybody who stuck around, this is actually the main act tonight. So I think this is a great question, and it's something that I have a lot of experience with. It is something that has been sort of a passion project of mine to go line by line through our town code and to suggest updates. When I first became a trustee, I learned that a lot of what we were doing was just because it was precedent. It had been years and years since the code had been updated, and I took it on personally as a project of mine to make sure that some of the things that we were doing as precedent would be clearly spelled out in our code so that the code would become more user-friendly for the average person looking to apply to the trustees. That is something we've been incredibly successful with doing. Every single year that I've been on the Board of Trustees, we have submitted code changes. Almost all of them have been adopted, and that's something that has really been a great partnership with the town board. Some of the specific changes are adding definitions that weren't previously there, clearing up what some of the definitions in our code meant. So there's something called the pier line, which was always confusing to applicants, and so now it is spelled out clearly what that means. One of the definitions that I helped to write is what a vegetated non-turf buffer is, and spelling out exactly how many plants we expect to have, and really making it so that when we use these terms in the public hearings, people can start to understand what they mean, and they have a reasonable expectation. This is also to make the process more fair, so that you don't feel that when you're coming before the Board of Trustees, there are secret things that only the expediters or lawyers know about. It's so that you can read the code and understand how the process works, and I've been very proud of that work. In fact, while I was on maternity leave, I spent that entire time reading the code line by line, and I came back with 19 new updates, so thank you very much.
Nate Andruski? And Nate, are you good with the question, or would you like me to repeat it?
No, I'm good. Okay, so this is something I've been out campaigning for a few weeks about issues that we face in the town, some things that are near and dear to me that I see, and that would be code, and I'm just gonna go out and say the things I've been talking about is something I would push for is pesticide use on the water, on properties on the water. I believe it's time for the town to start looking as a part of the trustee board, when these pesticides are being applied next to water, vegetation. There's a reason why we're losing everything. There's a reason why the grass is disappearing. There's a reason why there's no tadpoles, frogs, stuff like that in freshwater wetlands. There's a reason why we have no shellfish. This stuff does go into the water, and that's something I would love to, it's not gonna be easy, but dive into it, at least start with some sort of season or registry of who's spraying what, how much, where, when, because it needs to be addressed, because it is going to become a huge problem in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Fenora? Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I'm appreciative of the question because I think all too often there's a hesitation when there's code changes, when there's added restrictions, people can feel like something's being taken away or made more complex. One major value add that I want to bring to the Board of Trustees is that I understand our shorelines. I work as a town engineer for Shelter Island, administering wetlands code. I work as an engineer diver, looking at shorelines and coastal structures around the world. I work as an oyster farmer. I understand firsthand how important our waterways are. But I also understand that when it comes to regulation, complexity to regulation has to be met with logic and reason and science. I'm not going to be a trustee that's looking to add regulation to make people feel safer or make them think that their water's cleaner if that's not what's going to be the case. I'm here to bring established experience and practice in the development of new code. I'm here to promote changes to code that enhance public access through our mooring program, through our town landings. And I'm also here to enhance code so that it promotes the development and enables more of our working waterfront to help people in industry like myself and Nathan to keep that character and culture of the community of working on the waters and giving us access to the water so we can make a living. That's what you can expect from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Dindar?
Thank you. I've knocked on a lot of doors the last 4 months, 5 months, from Mattatuck to Warren. I've spoken to a lot of residents that have concerns about the permitting process through the trustee's office. A lot of times they say that you need a PhD to get through the code to figure out what you can do on your property and what you can't do on your property. And those are the issues. Do I agree with code changes? Absolutely. Do I agree with upgrading definitions so residents can understand the process a little bit better? Absolutely. And that's what I'll bring to the trustee's office. A little small business owner, a little bringing common sense to the office and helping residents navigate through the process. Yes, in everything, code is important. We're here at Trustees to protect our stewardship, our environment along the shorelines. That's our job as a trustee. We also have to be working with the residents that have properties on the wetlands and on the shoreline. And that process, through a code change, through the process, permitting process, I think I bring that to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
As someone with a PhD, which as you all know stands for piled higher and deeper, I find that the process actually makes sense when you show up to our work sessions to really take interest in the grit and details that our work entails. When you show up to our public hearings and stick it out past administrative amendments to sink your teeth into some of the contentious issues that we're facing on the waterfront. And when you show up to town board meetings to hear our proposed code changes, like my colleague Liz Galuli has, and many of you in the audience have as well, to understand what it is we proposed and what it is we hope that the town board considers. New definitions, the protection of serene fresh water bodies in our township from overdevelopment, and a reasonable setback of swimming pools from waters that we can all swim in and should, because they are clean and healthy due to our work on board. Now, because there are two candidates here this evening for County Ledge, and I have 30 seconds, I want each and every one of you to write them and say what we really need, Mr. Dorosky and Ms. Stark, is more money for our upgraded septic systems. Get those old systems out, let our waters be cleaner so that we have shellfish, so that we have a safe place for our children to swim, our people to fish. And the other thing is buffers, natural buffers along our waterfront. We install them regularly. We work very hard to get our applicants to understand the importance of native vegetation for salt-tolerant roots and drought tolerance. All of these things go into our work as trustees. It's not work we take lightly. We're proud of our work. Thank you.
You're right up, Eric. Eric, the next question.
Yeah.
Looking at the bigger picture, are there projects or programs that you recommend to address coastal resiliency and restore the health of our waterways, knowing that the interagency permitting processes often make it challenging for property owners to obtain permits at both the local and state levels, for example, raising the height of bulkheading? Are there initiatives that meet all permitting agencies' standards so that projects can come to fruition?
Sure. One of the, that's very wonky. There were rumors afoot that we would be getting a real doozy up here. I think that's not. One of the things is the Department of Environmental Conservation needs to pick up the phone. While our town trustees work days, nights, weekends, late into the evening on your behalf, our state partners could do better. I know of applicants, Mr. Bergen being one of them, or on behalf of applicants rather, who need answers from them and need them to show up in the field like we do every month to actually lay eyes on the process. So get DEC to show up and see what's actually in the field, not just look at it on a satellite image. In terms of our process, Liz Galuli has championed a streamlined checklist. I know that doesn't sound too sexy, but it's very important because people who do apply for our permits need to know what it is they need to submit so they don't keep getting pinged back and forth. And the third thing, I think, is our coordination with the ZBA. You know, we have concurrent jurisdiction with Zoning Board of Appeals because a lot of the lots left to be developed or preserved, if I had my way, in Southold Township are oddly shaped trapezoidal kites that it's difficult to bring into compliance with some of the setbacks. So they go to ZBA, and both of our boards are looking at those applications closely to see how it is we can balance private property rights with the public interest and the public good. And I look forward to a better process with ZBA. I've spoken before them about our trustee purview,
and continue to work with them closely. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Do you want me to reread, or?
I think so.
Okay. Looking at the bigger picture, are there projects or programs that you recommend to address coastal resiliency and restore the health of our waterways, knowing that the interagency permitting processes often make it challenging for property owners to obtain permits at both the local and state levels? An example being raising the height of bulkheading. Are there initiatives that meet all the permitting agency standards so that projects can come to fruition?
So yes, I think that it's sort of a multi-pronged question. And when I think about the bigger picture and the coastal resiliency that the trustees have been on the forefront of for generations, I'm very proud to see what is already in effect. Right now, the trustees don't permit new bulkheads on the shoreline. So when we talk about shoreline hardening, that's what we're talking about. Shoreline hardening is not good. Even though it sounds like a good plan to put up a wall, what it ends up doing is eroding the underwater lands and makes it more difficult for your neighbors. So that is something that has been eliminated, and instead what we see are living shoreline projects. There are some great examples at Cornell of these living shoreline projects, and that is something that we help applicants understand as a possibility to help deal with coastal erosion. With that said, the other part of your question is that the multi-agency process is complicated, and that's correct. The one thing that we can speak to is that our process of the trustees has become more clear throughout our diligent work. And Eric, thank you for mentioning the checklist. It really does make a difference, because when you come into the office, you should understand which documents you need to provide and how the application is going to be processed and when your hearing is going to be. This is work that we're doing. It's meaningful, it makes a big difference, and I'm very proud of finding ways to streamline the work that we do and to make it more accessible to the public. That is something I will champion and continue to champion if you give me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Nate?
Okay, yes, as far as the first part of the question, the shoring up shorelines, erosion, restoration. I'm not currently a trustee, so as far as all the permitting, stuff like that, I'm not super familiar with. I am somewhat familiar, but I've spent my whole life on water here in these creeks, constantly there. And from that knowledge of seeing and being out there all the time, there are plenty of areas where we could be focusing on those projects that it's just between town and state and utilizing other institutions like the CONIC or Sound SRA programs. We do have Cornell Cooperative Hatchery, which would be on board with a lot of these projects. In our town, which is an institution, in my mind, that is totally underutilized. And some of those areas we could work on, build the coastline up the correct way, that are not private property areas. And there are countless areas. If you drive around, if you've been out here your whole life, you see these areas. You work on those areas, you get them back to where they used to be instead of continue to neglect them. Dredge spoils, when a creek or mouth needs to be dredged, putting those dredge spoils in a correct place. And finally, there are areas, if you address these problems, these erosion problems from these areas, that will counter effect other property owners who, instead of them facing erosion problems, if we fix some of the bigger problems, they don't have to worry about the amount of erosion that they're feeling back in their creeks and close it. If we can get on board and start taking a look at some of the bigger problems we can do as a town, as is, and not involving, getting involved with property owners and stuff like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Working on the water and the shorelines is inherently complicated. It's inherently layered. Federal regulations, state regulations, local regulations, in some cases even county regulations. It's like that because it's a public shared resource that's been difficult to manage when you have this complex link of chains and whose authority is with respect to your project. You can only be as strong as the weakest link in that chain. If you can believe it, some of those other regulatory agencies make it more difficult to try creative new solutions. One of the easiest things to do is to get a permit through the Army Corps or the DEC for replacing a bulkhead and making it a little bit higher than the last time. It's a system that's set up to create these recurring problems, make it a little bit higher, but we're not incentivized to take creative solutions to the table. A person who wants to bear the burden of maybe doing a living shoreline or perhaps removing their bulkhead and crafting a more natural state is actually discouraged. They're met with resistance from those other state agencies. And sometimes, in the past, they've even been met with that kind of resistance at the local level. One thing that's important that I can bring to the table here is the knowledge to evaluate those types of solutions. It's to not bring a rubber stamp that says no. It's to have the knowledge to find compromise with people who are trying to do the right thing, and to allow people to make practical changes even when it's not been done in the past. Now's the time to start thinking outside the box. We have real problems. We have serious development issues on our shoreline. We have serious erosion problems. I'm reflecting on a meeting about erosion at Bailey Beach just a few weeks ago and the serious issues we're facing with our federal partners. These are complex issues and they require real expertise. I'll bring that to the table.
Lindor?
My counterparts are absolutely right. There are issues moving forward. We have overdevelopment. We've been discovered on the North Fork, and development is here. We're trying to save the family farm in order to reduce that. I totally agree with working with the zoning board. I agree with working with the town board. These are things that need to be addressed. The trustees have done a great job trying to protect what we can on the North Fork, and I hope to continue doing that. It is an uphill battle. It's not easy, and we're trying to keep residents happy as well as property rights, but we're also trying to protect the environment and those shorelines and those wetlands and our dunes and all the other things that go along with it. So that's why we're here tonight. We're trying to find that balance of property rights as well as the environment. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the trustees. A round of applause for the trustees, please. And with that, for our final group for the evening, the county legislature, if the two candidates will please take the stage.
Picture the table.
Okay. By the way, everyone, I hope you appreciate that we brought the county legislator candidates here tonight. This is something new for the town of Southold. They have a tremendous impact on our local community through the work they do in their areas. So with that, thank you to the two candidates for coming here tonight. Our first question, and this will be going to Catherine first. How will you work with all East End municipalities to share plans, resources, and solutions to face our collective challenges, such as climate resiliency, water quality, and quantity?
we're already doing. Working, actually, Supervisor Crupsey, when he was legislator, passed climate change legislation so that we had to consider climate change when doing major road upgrades. The county is planning on raising portions of County Road 48, and that's due to legislation that he passed while he was here. And that wasn't just for Southold, that was for all of Suffolk County. Water quality, we are working that at the county all the time, encouraging oyster growers, encouraging people to upgrade to the innovative alternative systems. There are grants at the county. There are grants that are coming down from the state. I tell people, you're going to have to upgrade at some point, so get your application in now. The lines are long, they're going to get longer, the money's gonna get tighter. And then the last one was the water quantity. So there is a proposed North Fork pipeline that is going through the process of public hearings, proposals, the town of Riverhead. There are some people that don't like the idea because they don't feel Riverhead is getting a benefit. And it's upsetting the roads in Riverhead. They haven't actually determined the direct location yet. They have said that that is up for changing. So I go to all the meetings and see what things that they have to say. And then as a legislator, there is no, we don't have jurisdiction over the decisions of something what we approve the appointees to the board, but other than that, the county legislature does not have any jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Durowski. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
How will you work with all East End municipalities to share plans, resources, and solutions to face our collective challenges, such as climate resiliency, water quality, and quantity?
So yeah, this is a very important issue, and I think an area that my opponent has really struggled with over the past 2 years. As we look at the issues that are impacting us, whether it's with raising the roadway, let's say, it took the town board to call together our state partners, our county partners, to really look at what we needed to do across the board. You know, many of the issues that we're facing are regional issues. My opponent mentions the Suffolk County Water Authority line expansion. Although she was at some of the meetings, at this point she is yet to speak at a public hearing or during the scoping session, while our former legislator and current town supervisor and I have been up at the mic advocating for our community, advocating for conservation, advocating for a regional approach. Working with the town of Riverhead, speaking with the town of Southampton. This is where we really need our county legislator to come in and bring much needed leadership. There's also the component of bringing in the civic associations, the chambers, and as we look at the piece of deer legislation that I worked on in town, initially started with Assemblymember Jody Giglio, who was a Republican, then worked with Assemblymember Thiel in drafting a piece of legislation, speaking to other municipalities, got the law passed, and then we spoke to the civic associations to get the education out there to the community. The legislation itself is only the starting point. How it's implemented is what's key here. And as we look at something like the Water Quality Improvement Fund, this is another area where my opponent has failed to engage the towns and where we need our legislator to help put us in the best position to get access to these funds. Thank you.
Greg, you're up next.
Gotcha.
If elected, what are the top 3 accomplishments you will work to achieve?
Thank you. So I think most importantly is to mirror the sort of leadership and engagement that I've showed on the town board. I think it's vital that our elected officials stay engaged, and not just during election time. Going to the meetings, going to the civic associations, going to the chambers, meeting with the towns, meeting with your counterparts, and really helping advocate for our community. I see one of the most important roles of the legislature is to help the town achieve their goals. I'm a firm believer in local control, not just for local control's sake, but because it is the goals of our community. And it's really important that our legislator and our legislature really puts us in the position to do that. I think an area as we look at the affordable housing issue that we really need to address is streamlining the process in the health department. We hear time and again from people, whether they're looking to do accessory dwelling units or larger projects, that it's very confusing to deal with the Suffolk County Health Department. There's not clear rules and guidelines, and we really need a streamlined process for these sort of public goods. Additionally, we need to look at addressing the issues that we're facing as a region together. So coordinating a regional advisory council where we bring the towns together on a regular basis, not just the supervisors and mayors, but in this legislative district to address the major issues that we're facing. So whether it's climate change, whether it's water quality and quantity, whether it's what we're gonna do with our solid waste when the Brookhaven landfill closes. This is something where we need our legislator to show leadership and bring the community together, bring the stakeholders together so we can solve our problems and achieve our priorities. Thank you.
You good? Are you over here reading it? If elected, what are the top 3 accomplishments you will work to achieve?
Well, my favorite thing to do is preservation, and I will continue on that path. In the first year and a half, I've preserved over 290 acres of farmland and open space, and I have 400 acres of farmland that's in the process. Appraisals and contracts, we just haven't closed yet. That's incredibly important to keep our character. The second is the working waterfronts that just passed. Putting that into place, getting the 18-member committee that will review the applications, which actually mirrors the farmland board. And lastly, encouraging people to apply for the grants for the innovative alternative. January 1 starts the county-wide sewer map. People who are not hooked up to the sewer will not get a bill, but as your town has put into place some regulations, and other towns are as well, you will at some point have to upgrade your cesspool or your septic system to the innovative alternative. So I encourage everybody to get their application in now before the money runs out.
Thank you. So now we're going to move to our closing statements. Do we want to move this? Yeah. Okay, we're going to start with our town board candidates. Alexa Seuss, you are up.
Give your seat away, I'm sorry.
So as you have seen tonight, Southold is at a crossroads. We can let outside investors and climate change and outdated policymaking shape our future, or we can step up and shape it ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go backwards. We can't afford to, because I want to be able to tell a local graduate, just like myself, hey, you can afford to live here. You can work here, you can start a business here. Southold cares about your success because it is our success as a community. So I will ask you this. After listening tonight, who do you think is going to serve the entirety of the community, and not just those with the largest wallets and the loudest voices? I know who that is, and I hope you'll vote for myself and the entire Democratic slate on November 4th. Thank you.
Nick, you're up next.
Folks, good evening, and thank you so much again for sitting through this. Thank you everyone for contributing to the questions. And what I'd really like to say is the takeaway that I've learned tonight again is, you know, the diversity of thought that we've experienced tonight. But there's a commonality. We all want to protect and maintain Southold as we know it. I would just like to remind you that I have over 20 years of service to the town of Southold in a diverse role, that I've got a collaborative mindset. I like working with people, and most importantly, I live here. I want to preserve Southold's future. So please remember to vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Stevens, you're up next.
Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you everyone who contributed to these great questions. I think they were thought-provoking. I think that's how we learn, is through dialogue. And let this dialogue continue, that there be more listening sessions and more interaction, because this is how we all get on the same page and understand what our shared priorities are. Being a candidate for the last 6 months or so has been stressful, but it's also been a huge privilege. One of the great things is you have access to people, to what matters to them, and you build relationships for future collaborations. So there's a lot to do, but this is the right team at the right time to get it done. Everyone on this slate brings relevant experience, competence, and commitment to do the hard work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Stephanie Hall.
First, just like to thank everyone for coming out this evening and listening, and thanking the combined Civics for hosting this event. I want to echo Nick's comments about diversity of thought. We've heard a lot of great ideas this evening. There's a lot of passionate folks running for election, and I hope that you'll consider voting for me on November 4th.
Thank you. Brian?
We talked a lot about land preservation, and I just want to do a shout out to Mrs. Spyro for over 30 years of being dedicated to land preservation, and resisting development pressures because of the good work. And we have a plan, and we're using it right. We're not abusing the funds. Just thank you for that stewardship. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you seek her out and ask her why I shouted her out. So this is a matter of community for me. And you're my beloved community. You're my family community. And I hope that I've demonstrated that I've worked hard for you. And I will love nothing more to get back to the table with Uncle Al and Ann and Jill and everybody, because we're doing good work for you. And I hope that we've demonstrated that. And this is important that we get it right. Somebody told me when I first got elected, don't screw it up. So I think we're on the right track. I think we have the right team. I think we have the most experienced Democratic slate that we've ever run. So if we have the most experienced Democratic slate, why wouldn't you vote for them to continue our experiences working for Southold? And it really is a matter of public service. This is not about gain, any kind of personal gain to me. I have to look at people in the eye and tell them I'm doing the best for Southold. And I think I am, but the final decision will be in the voting box. So I appreciate your support, and I appreciate that this is a great community. Let's fight for it. Let's have the best ideas.
Let's go forward together. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris Talbot.
Thank you, everybody, sticking around late in the night. One town, that's what we are. You know, it's a small town, we all know that. We see each other on the street, you know, if you got a problem with somebody, you want to address it. You don't want that to go on forever. You take care of each other like we do in the fire service, doesn't matter who you are. We're there to help you. Serve the same way in government. I do the same thing in the building department. We do the best for everybody. We make it as easy as possible for people to do the right thing. I worked hard when I was on the board previously. I will participate in the discussions. I will offer ideas. I will offer alternatives. And I will contribute. That is one of the biggest things that I see is missing now. No contribution. I will work hard for all of us, for all of you. And I thank you very much again, and I ask for your vote on November 4th.
Thank you, Chris. Now on to the town trustee candidates. Liz Galooly.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you to the Civic Associations for hosting. Conversations like this remind me why I ran for office in the first place. It's because this community cares deeply about where we're headed, and I want to be a part of the future. I want to thank all the others who are running for office. It takes an incredible personal sacrifice to run and a lot of courage, and so I commend each and every one of you for taking this up. It's been an honor to serve as your trustee for the past 4 years. I take this work seriously because our coastline, our water, and our neighborhoods deserve thoughtful, steady leadership that puts people in place first. I'm grateful to the other candidates, especially those who made it a priority to be here tonight. I do recommend that the remaining candidates come to our work session or a public hearing. So far, only Joe Fenora has come to a trustee public hearing, and I think that's pretty important when you're running for the job of being a trustee. We have a public hearing tomorrow night. In the past 4 years, I've done something that's incredibly rare in government. I've gotten things done. When I was told that trustees don't write their own code, I figured out how to advocate to the town board for the changes that we need. When I was told that the process had always been done a certain way, I found practical, incremental ways to make the process better. When I was told that PDFs on the website couldn't be fillable, I downloaded Adobe Acrobat and I made those forms fillable. That's the kind of worker I am. I don't wait for someone else to do it, I get things done. And I know that these incremental changes make a meaningful difference in protecting our common lands, which trustees have been entrusted to steward since 1676. I see I'm running out of time. At the end of the day, this role isn't about politics or slogans, it's about listening, showing up, and doing the work with fairness, research decisions based on science, and consistency, and that's what I've done, that's what I'll continue to do. I grew up on these waters, I work them still, and I'm now raising my son here. My decisions aren't abstract, they're about home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz. Eric? Oh, sorry, Pindar, sorry.
Thank you again for your time. I'm definitely not a career politician. Running for trustee for this community. I'm a assistant chief of Southold Fire Department, and I was there at 4 o'clock in the morning at San Simeon helping to evacuate those residents. So I believe in this community. I'm a small business owner, and I have a son who's 16, who's in Mattituck High School. And I believe in this town, I love this town. I've lived here for over 20 years. Like I said, I grew up in St. James, but I came out here since I was 6 years old, and I've seen this community, and I live in this community now. I serve this community. And in April, I will be sworn in as your chief in Southold, and I will continue to help the residents of this community all hours of the night. And I thank you for your time. I hope for your vote on November 4th. I believe in the candidates that are on the Republican Party, and I hope for your vote. I hope you get out there on that Tuesday and you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
Experience matters, but community connections make experience work. I build relationships by speaking with the civic associations. I'm in coordination with Highway Department, who's cutting the outflow pipes that direct runoff historically to our surface waters. Not anymore. I educate students about our estuaries. I advocate for our waters publicly, on media outlets, in our town hall, and I work across levels of government. I am grateful to serve alongside trustees who honor the office and show up to do the work. Long-term projects call for continuity. The Broad Meadow restoration at Halleck's Bay, a dream hatched decades ago. I've done the research. I'm part of these conversations because I think we all want to see a great salt marsh restored. The shift from hardened shorelines toward living shoreline projects. I'm on the front lines of these decisions. The preservation of freshwater wetlands across town, my field work and that of my colleagues has put them on track to be saved. These efforts endure because our trustees serve the greater good and you. I'm asking for your vote because I understand the complexities of this job, and I'm committed to continuing this work. I'm rooted in this land and open to your perspectives and evolving needs of our community. I ask for your vote this November 4th. Thank you all.
Thank you. Nate?
Thank you for everybody that stuck around for this. It was a long night. And, you know, as before, when I was my opening statements, we have a host of issues that I talk about in this town concerning our marine environment and habitat, and I believe a lot of them are fixable. If elected trustee, I'll be committed to addressing these problems head-on. I'll work with the proper institutions to obtain grant funding for habitat restoration projects, clean water projects, and shellfish restoration projects, as well as being a loud voice for the town to be more committed for these types of projects, along with more public awareness and information, because it's going to take the whole community to right the environmental wrongs that are happening in our marine ecosystem. I will also be the steward the marine environment needs, making sure that there is no further environmental degradation within the areas where trustees have oversight. If we don't have at least one trustee that is willing to do this work, we can be a town proud of having our waters as productive as a pond that holds wastewater runoff from a nuclear power plant. And that is why I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Joe?
On a personal note, today's my son's birthday. We celebrated yesterday. He's only 5, so and he should be asleep, but if he's not, happy birthday. But his birthday reminds me a lot about why I'm running for this office. I grew up here in Southold. Access to the water here shaped who I became. It inspired my passions for engineering, for oyster farming, and for protecting the places that make this town so special. I'm seeing now Southold through my kids' eyes. I watch them play on the beach, fish in the creeks, crab, explore the same shorelines that I did. It reminds me of what's at stake here. I agree with my colleague Liz Galuli, now is not the time for politics. We have real issues here, and these issues command expertise and experience. I have the experience and the skills to tackle these challenges ahead, to protect our waters, to plan smartly for our future, and to keep Southold a great place. Not just for my family, but for yours also. So thanks for your time tonight. And please remember, vote for me November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And now the county legislature candidates. Catherine Stark, you're up first.
Good evening. Thank you all for staying. This has been a very long evening. It's been very informative. The county legislature for the first legislative district is one of 18 legislators. There is a lot of relationships that you must have, not just with the legislators, but with all the various departments. Department of Health, Department of Public Works, Social Services. Over 30 years, I have been working with the members of these departments and have created great relationships. I look forward to continuing that work. The election is November 4th. I hope to have your support. Early voting starts on October 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, and Greg Dorosky.
I can move it now because we don't need to go back. So I love my work on the Southold Town Board. We're tackling some really important issues. I'm proud of the work we've done on the zoning code update. But unfortunately, I feel like there's a leadership void in the Suffolk County Legislature in the first legislative district. And I think the issues that we're facing require leadership. Leadership that's missing right now. As we look at bringing together the different towns, the different parts of our community, we need someone there who is comfortable engaging in the conversation publicly. Whether we're looking at the Suffolk County water line expansion, we need a legislator there bringing the towns together to advocate for our common goals. As we look at the water quality improvement funds, we need to look at putting our residents in the best position to achieve those grant funding opportunities, and our towns and villages to receive those grant funding opportunities. We need a legislator who feels comfortable showing up to town board meetings and public hearings, advocating for what's right. I think we all have fond memories of former legislator Krupski showing up to meetings to advocate for what he believed. And even though I didn't always agree with him, his voice was important there. That's what leadership requires, I think now more than ever. And as we look at the dysfunction of our national government, that sort of local leadership is really, really important, now more than ever. I ask for your vote this November 4th, and I ask for your support in engaging with me on these issues in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And with that, this is the end of our forum. Thank you all for coming out.
Up in here. Yep.